Um, but then I had to decide because they were, I think, 12, uh, 12, maybe 11 and 14. And so I had to decide, um, these are going to be young Black males. What does this look like for them now, especially what they were already dealing with? And that was the other reason why I made that decision to become a single mom, because I did not want, they're already at risk. They were already at risk. And so every day that he was in our household, their risk of being killed or going to prison was getting greater. So we both decided that we were going to have these children and we were going to raise these children. We were going to take care of them. But when he got into drugs, he was no longer able to do that. So I had to make the decision, then I'm going to have to do it because it still has to be done. And so we made the decision, well, I did, that this is what we were going to do. He went to the East Coast. I stayed on the West Coast. They were able to visit. There was some visitation and all of that. But I had to try to figure out, okay, they still need a role model. Fortunately for me, I was able to live near my parents. And my father, who died December 20th, about 4 years ago, I'm a daddy's girl. I'll be one till the day I die. Great man. He stepped in. So like in your case, they had their grandfather. My mother also helped, and my sister, because for work I traveled as well. So I had to make something work when I wasn't always going to be there. So anything I could do to get those trusted surrogates and me when as much as I could be there, that's what I did. Um, Obviously, it wasn't perfect. Obviously, I made some mistakes, but my heart was to do the right thing. So I was constantly looking at ways to get better. I was getting input. I was looking for accountability. This is when I started to learn to listen to them as well, because they needed to talk. I put them in therapy. They didn't want to go. I put us all in. And I said, things weren't normal for us. They weren't what you should expect at your age. So there has to be a safe place for you to be able to talk to somebody. So this is what we're going to do. Um, and so it was hard. There was a lot of sacrifice. I put whatever the trusted therapists I could in place. They were able to spend time with their father as well. We made sure that they knew that they continued to have a connection, but it tended to be me. Later, I remarried, and that changed that dynamic to some degree. So we had to fight through. And when I say fight, I mean mentally fight through those changes and bring ourselves back to the place where we were. But they were older by then, already adults. Well, no, still young and going into almost adults. Um, so, but the single parent side, if you can, my recommendation is if you don't have to be a single parent, then don't choose it. That would be it. It's like, if it's what you want and you think that's the way you want to go, and no matter what anyone says, that's what you're going to do, then that's your prerogative.
At least have a robust community around you.
Yes, have that. But if you don't want that, then before you ever think you're going to go that other direction, then there needs to be some time with whoever that partner is going to be, whoever you're going to partner with, through some seasons. You need to see them through some seasons. You need to have outside input of trusted people that can see some things that maybe you don't see, and make sure that you're aligned. And in doing so, be very careful about how much of yourself you give. I mean, mentally and particularly physically, because sometimes something that feels good may not be with the right person. So now you're with somebody that maybe something felt good, but the relationship is not going to be good. Nothing else feels good in that relationship, but now you're in it. So it's like, take the time for all of that. Take the time to assess where you are, assess who you are, and assess who it is that you want to be, and that you two come together whole and not as two halves trying to become a whole. So looking at all of those things and making sure that what they say are their values, they're living those values. Because for a month, I can be anything you want me to be. But what does that look like in 6 months? What does that look like in a year? What does that look like when it's snowing? What does that look like when it's storming? What does
Or when
that
you
look
have a newborn screaming at 2 a.m. and you're both exhausted.
Yeah, or when I'm doing really well or whatever. What does that look like? How are you When you're doing well, how am I? When I'm doing well, how are you? When I'm doing poorly, how are you? Are our values still aligned? Because if they're not, it's going to be even harder when you bring somebody into that dynamic.
Who
Because
doesn't
like,
care how you feel?
yeah, because you're already tired, and when we're exhausted, we're irritable. And we
Mhm.
say things that we mean at that moment. And
Mhm.
maybe we'll never mean it again. But at that moment, that's what I meant. And so I'm very particular about not speaking when I'm emotional, because I'm going to mean exactly what I said to you when I said it. So my apology is going to be a lie, because at the time I said it, I meant it. And so I'm very mindful of using a journal and thinking through my thoughts. Like, am I feeling something that's not there? Is this there? What does this mean? How am I going to respond to this? Is this the best time? I have to do all of that because I have a sharp tongue and I know it. And it's like, so knowing those values going in, understanding that when people are irritable or tired or a situation's harder, how does that person respond and how do you handle their response? All of those things need to be in your upfront before you bring somebody into the world. And if that's not there and you still are committed to that marriage, then you need to work on that. That has to be an everyday process, every day. So,
And truthfully, anybody who wants to be in a long-term relationship, whether it's a relationship with a romantic partner or to be a parent,